Welcome fellow Bleach fans. Today's video is a rather unique one. As some might have guessed, I'm a massive comic book fan, and one of my favorite characters, as it is for most people, is Batman. So when Mayuri in the Thousand Year Blood War said he has data on all of the captain's Bankai, and their blood, and probably much more, my brain cooked up such a devious idea. So today's video is simple. We're going to take a dive into Mayuri's central computer and see what contingency plans he's got cooked up for his fellow Soul Reapers, alive and dead, because you never know when you're going to need it. More than likely, Mayuri has more than one plan for each person, but I'm going to go with what I think would be one of his plan A type ideas, but for some, it may be his only course of action. As I go, I will categorize where in the computer their threat level is located, ranging from non-factor to worthy specimen to must add to collection, and the separate category of do not engage directly. I will say, it's not a scaling video for Mayuri. This is simply how Mayuri would plan to take out his fellow Gote members. So if you liked the video, remember, like, subscribe, comment, and tell me which other 4 you would like to see in another video. File name, Pharaoh Child. Shinji Hirako. Shinji Hirako is honestly probably the easiest one in my opinion to do of the 4 characters. Shinji's most and honestly only dangerous quality is his Shikai. Shinji's Shikai ability is to place his opponent in an inverted world where everything from up, down, left, right, front, and back are reversed. To make it worse, Shinji has mastered this technique to the point he can turn it off and on at will, in order to completely disorient opponents, never allowing them to actually defend or attack. It can even cause severe bouts of nausea. For almost every character, this is impossible to overcome, unless you're Mayuri, in which it barely takes 2 seconds of thought. Shinji's Zanpakuto places its opponent in an inverted world through a person's olfactory senses. It enters through the nose as an opponent smells this beautiful rosy aroma, and then they are caught no matter what after that point. The easy fix for this is one simple solution. Mayuri turns off his nose. If the requirement is to smell it, then all Mayuri has to do is turn off his olfactory sense, which honestly is child's play for someone like Mayuri. He has created redundant sets of organs before, clones of himself, and modified his bone and nerve structure mid-fight. So again, stopping chemicals from getting in his nose is easy. If you want to argue it's not the smell but the chemical emanating from the Zanpakuto, then again, nose plugs do the job. And if a hardcore Shinji fan will pound the table for the chemical getting inside your body through other means like pores, wounds, etc., which there is no evidence for, Mayuri could still easily install a brain stabilizer, or even a backup sensor organ detached from the brain's chemical makeup. It's not hard when you modify your body like Mayuri can. Not to mention, he has a sword deflecting device that would parry incoming blows automatically. This device wouldn't be affected by Sakanade either. He has assistance if you want to count War Arc Mayuri with Nemu, or post-War Arc with enhanced Arankar. Outside of his Shikai, Shinji has no answers for Mayuri. Shinji doesn't really use his mask in character, but even still, like a nick from Ashisogi Jizo, being jumped by multiple characters, Kido, super powerful sticky webbing, sticky plastic that can blow off limbs of captains. It's just not a fair fight for Shinji, and honestly probably the captain Mayuri least has to worry about. Even Shinji's Bankai is useless in a 1v1. Shinji's Bankai changes one's allegiance, but changing Mayuri's allegiance doesn't work since he doesn't have one, so on to the next one. File name, Noble Tree. Byakuya Kuchiki. I believe this was one of my easier contingency plans. It's simply due to the fact that Kubo has had other characters point out Byakuya's biggest weaknesses. Those weaknesses also happen to be his 2 strengths, his calm demeanor in battle, and the safe zone of his Zanpakuto. Ginrei and Asnot showed us through either words or actions that Byakuya becomes less dangerous if you can throw off his mental fortitude. Once he's in his emotions, he's vulnerable. The second weakness is Senbon Zakura's defense itself. This was exposed by both Ichigo and Tsukishima. Mayuri would know from studying Byakuya these would be his 2 best routes to take to neutralize him, and he would most likely attack both simultaneously. Mayuri would bring with him to this battle a particular type of weapon, sticky tracker bombs, that attach themselves to Byakuya's petals and would be attuned to Byakuya's spirit signature, and activate when in range of his body. Mayuri, despite not being a physical fighter, has never had a problem keeping up with characters he's fighting, and if it becomes too difficult, Mayuri has now Hirinkaku jets to enhance his speed. We also know he has attached a combat sensor in Ashisogi Jizo to counter close combat swordsmen. Byakuya would essentially be forced to use Senbon Zakura. Byakuya isn't likely to lead with Kido since he never has, and he finds Mayuri despicable, and we know that Byakuya tends to be very direct in combat when he's disgusted with someone, see Tsukushima and Ichigo. Mayuri would allow the pedals to come in as close as possible, even allowing them to make contact and taking hits in order to enact this plan. This is in order to place the bugs on the pedals that will explode or deliver a nerve agent into the air around Byakuya. Probably a mix of both, knowing Mayuri. If Byakuya is in Shikai, he is likely to recall the pedals back toward him, and he even has a tendency to activate and deactivate the Shikai. In his Shikai, the plan works a lot better due to the smaller amount of pedals. This is because he has to call them back for defense, or the pedals will cycle closer to him in between attack and defense due to the lack of pedals. The bugs would have an easier time getting in closer and throwing Byakuya off his game once the nerve agent releases, making him slower to react or whatever Mayuri would cook it up to do. As we've seen, playing mind games with Byakuya is your best shot at defeating him, especially if you can get him unfocused enough to stop using Kido like Asnot was able to do. The explosions would either damage Byakuya enough to allow Mayuri to take advantage, or have him too worried to properly control Senbon Zakura. This even prevents him from trying to use Bankai because Byakuya needs the complete sword in order to activate it. This plan nullifies Byakuya's battle IQ and Senbon Zakura itself. Kido isn't a threat to Mayuri either because 1, Mayuri is also a master of Kido, and 2, if Byakuya has to solely rely on Kido, it won't dent the fact that Mayuri would still have access to his entire arsenal to counter it. Not to mention, Mayuri has a higher grade in Kido than Byakuya does. Even if Byakuya decided he would go into Bankai right away, I don't believe the plan changes. It would simply just take longer. At worst, Mayuri and the corpse unit would spread the nerve agent and bugs around the battlefield like he did against Pernida, allowing him to circumvent Senbon Zakura's great defense. Mayuri also has all manner of shield to protect himself, so he should be able to outlast a poisoned Byakuya. The next 2 characters honestly are top 5 in Mayuri's do not engage directly section. File name, Young Tree. Zaraki Kenpachi. I believe for a fact that Kenpachi Zaraki's eye patch has some built-in defense or failsafe that will make it difficult for Zaraki to take off. You cannot convince me that Mayuri nor the Central 46 made this an actual thing. So Mayuri's plan most likely will start with the activation of that handicap to keep Zaraki as weak as possible. There is a chance it gets removed before Mayuri can do anything about it or engage Zaraki in any way. I'll move forward with the analysis as if it's not in play. Mayuri, as I stated, would never try to engage Zaraki directly. We know from the novels Mayuri has clones that he can remotely operate. Not to mention, we know he is capable of modifying bodies to detonate and use all of those sorts of effects. So his play would be to confront Zaraki with clones who were chosen for specific designations. Mayuri clone Wave 1. This clone's primary objective would be to slow down Zaraki. Zaraki is too fast and too powerful for Mayuri to engage directly, so first his speed has to come down for the rest of the plan to work. The idea would be to use the clone to confront Zaraki directly and goad him into an attack similar to Pernida. The original idea would be the clone exploding upon its death and morphing into a resin that inflates and becomes heavier by absorbing Ryatsu. This would double down on tapping out that near inexhaustible energy Zaraki has. Next 2 clones would either be a combination of a bomb, like what Gremmy pulled off against Kenpachi, or a gas that's intended to outright just kill Kenny. Now, Kenny most likely would still power through it like he does with everything else. Once the first 2 clones are gone, Mayuri would move in with a second wave. It would be Mayuri supported by his zombie squad. This zombie squad was capable of damaging Ikomiki Domoe while they were in their res forms in Camp for Your World. Ikomiki Domoe is relative to that Zaraki, so a weakened Zaraki could be damaged further, but he'd still probably make short work of this group. The final phase of the plan is the Bankai itself. With the information given to Kanjiki Ashisogi Jizo, Mayuri would be able to modify it into a physical counter monster, being able to reflect the powerful strikes of Zaraki back onto himself by absorbing, dispersing, and redirecting the force back into Zaraki. This idea actually came from Zayad, one of my Discord guys. Shout out to Zayad. Mayuri, despite not having a Zanpakuto to defend himself, still has Kido and has a Kido net that can slow down powerful captain level threats. How effective this plan is honestly relies on every stage going somewhat correctly, with the crux of the plan relying on the Bankai being set up. This plan is modeled after the fight with Pranita. The main tactic is to disable Zaraki's limbs and keep him from moving and becoming a runaway train. Next up is a contingency plan that was so difficult to develop I almost decided to just do someone else, but ultimately I stuck it out. So here we go. File name, Weathered Tree, Retsu Unohana. Retsu Unohana is Kenpachi, but worse. She has the power and sword skill like Zaraki does, but she takes it further by being a Kido and Kaido master. Then her Bankai rounds out her terrifying abilities by insta-healing herself and increasing her sword reach massively by trapping the opponent and herself in a sea of some blood-like viscous material. Priority number 1 would be to make sure she cannot use her Bankai. I thought about having Mayuri reverse engineer a medallion, but I don't know how possible it is without being a Quincy, so I went a different route. Bakoto. A Bakoto, for those who don't know, is a faux Zanpakuto-like creature that drains a user's spirit energy for a massive increase in fighting capabilities. They also have abilities like Zanpakuto, one of which is nullifying Zanpakuto abilities. Power nullification, sealing, or stealing is not outside the realm of something for Mayuri to create, because it also wasn't outside the realm of Sosuke Aizen, Yuha, or filler fodder characters to create. Mayuri's intelligence and resources is definitely in that range. Mayuri already has feats of creating life from scratch and heavily modifying Zanpakuto. So most likely Mayuri would create a shield or attachment of some kind that would temporarily keep Unohana from calling on her Zanpakuto's power. But this may also not allow Mayuri to access his own Zanpakuto, so that is considered as well. Her second most terrifying capability is her physicals. Her power and swordplay is mostly unrivaled. I don't believe even Mayuri's deflection device would properly counter her. On top of this fact is that Unohana in her Kenpachi form is very forward and it's all about pressing the action. She will never wait for Mayuri to do anything. The Kurotsuchi Corps unit would have to give Unohana everything they have, while Nanana is hiding, waiting to analyze her with his Shrift, the underbelly, to slow her down. The underbelly allows Nanana to leak someone's spirit energy by analyzing how their spirit energy flows, and the more he analyzes, the more he can do to them, like paralyze and even kill. Kurotsuchi clone could circumvent the issue of not having access to his Zanpakuto in this scenario by being capable of exploding and expelling Kanjiki Ashisogi Jizo's poison, which the Arankar and Quincy would be immune to. A poisoned and now no Bankai Unohana would probably still cut down the powerful corpse unit without too much difficulty. We also know the corpse unit bodies are full of poisons that infect based on contact. A concoction as mixed as this should be enough to even slow down the Kaido monster that Unohana is. This exertion would increase the poison spread and damage to Retsu while giving a hidden Nanana more time to immobilize her. In the event she gets too close, a Kaha Negacion device would be prepped to use on her. Mayuri would have stolen and modified this from Xylopero's lab. Even if she avoids not being caught in it, it's still a good stall tactic and forces her to be more cautious when approaching. But time is against her. This would force Unohana to focus on escaping the dimension if she's caught with her spiritual power, while allowing the poison to do more damage. If she tries to stay in the dimension and cycle out the poison with Kaido, she runs the risk of giving Mayuri more time. Because by the time she escapes, she should be exhausted or near death. And even if she isn't, Nanana is the ace in the hole here. Nanana is capable of killing an opponent if observed for a good amount of time, and if observed for a good amount of time in a weakened state, this would be the kill shot. Mayuri should be able to kill a Retsu fighting off multiple different poisons, having her spirit energy leaked, along with Mayuri's extensive Kido abilities. But if Mayuri were to ever try to use his Zanpakuto and allow her to access her Bankai, even in the 11th hour of victory, I don't see a way Mayuri wins. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Kind of went a little bit long, but let me know if you want to see other characters. Put them down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe. Y'all have a good day. Bye.